Okay, so this video now is about the big planes. So look, the planes are really boring from my perspective because they really are like commercial planes that have been converted into military aircraft. So you just watch them at the air show and think, that's interesting. We're just watching a commercial
Yeah, but
airplane
you don't
fly.
actually know what's on the inside of it. Like
Well,
this old girl.
okay, so what's
This
the
is the
Poseidon?
Poseidon.
Okay.
Okay, she is,
Mm,
and you got to keep your video in focus.
mm.
She's used for anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare, search and rescue, maritime intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, overland intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance.
Yeah, it's a Boeing 737-800. So for those of you who have been flying 737s, you know the feeling, you know. Well, was this the one they queued for?
Yeah, this was the one. This one's
Gosh.
based out of Edinburgh.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So there was this queue. Like, it must
Oh
have
no,
been...
that wasn't. That
it
was
wasn't it?
actually for the one to come up.
Okay, all right.
That was for your flying fuel tanker, which you don't like.
Oh, well. Well, look, yeah. So I wish they could improve the colour scheme a bit.
Oh yeah, they're gonna make them bright pink. Now we do have a few other mentions here which we don't have. One of them is the Orion, which I got into trouble for because I thought it was a Hercules.
Yeah, I got in trouble for that. Somebody made a comment, no, that's not a Herc, it's an Orion.
Now the interesting thing is, as one of the guys we're speaking to about it said, the exactly the same as a Herc. The main difference is the engines are around differently. Meaning, as it flies low over the water, the actual water doesn't go into the engine.
You know, I think he was just humouring you.
No, it has snorkels on the top.
And trying to make you feel better.
It actually has snorkels on the top. Did you see them?
Yeah, but he smiled when he said that.
Anyway,
and when you said it was a Herc.
Anyway, it's a 13-man crew. We're
Okay.
going to move on because Mrs. Martin is about to be flushed. The Spartan.
Okay, this is the Spartan. Interesting. That's all I'm going to say. Who did we speak to at the Spartan? Oh, yeah, the two props. That's what I remember.
We've already shown the photo for this one. This is the light tactical one.
Oh, okay. Did we?
Yes,
how
we
many?
did.
How many? Oh, yes.
This is the signed copy by one of the pilots there.
Wait, oh, there it is. Oh, I forgot about that. It says to all, come fly with us one day. I don't know what that says. Yeah, something Lowy. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So he was one of the only few pilots that were actually hanging around the marquee. Oh, the stands. I think it's just because, okay, let's face it, all the crowds were going at, the fighter jet section because, it's all sexy, it's all loud, blah, 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 it's very expensive. And it must be said, and I freely admit to it, these big planes must be boring, but the people that were manning these, no hint of...
nice to talk to.
They were nice, no hint of arrogance because they know, look, we are kind of like the Clydesdales of...
let's just say stuff don't move if they don't do it.
Yeah, so the logistics side. So they were really lovely people. So I actually enjoyed talking to them.
Now another one we have to give a shout out to if you're talking about Clydesdales of the Air is one of the big boys.
Yep.
The C-30A Globemaster.
Did we have that?
No, they weren't there.
Oh,
they are. This is probably the biggest plane you're going to get. Big boys. Also based out of Amberley.
Yeah.
Now,
Amberley's got the big planes.
Okay. Now the one my lovely better half didn't really go much on.
Oh, yeah, look, I didn't mind this because, you could see the pointy bit, the fuel retanker thing. But this was the one with the long queue, wasn't it?
There would have been at least a 45-minute to an hour queue.
It was like, let's face it, I mean, so I asked one of the Amberley people, I think, I said, is it worth queuing for this? And he said, no, because basically you've just got rows of seats. So I'm thinking, you're going to go up the plane, see the rows of empty seats, and go down it. And look, there's better ways to spend the time at open day. So I didn't understand.
As the guy who was talking to it basically said, there's 200 seats on board and a big fuel tank underneath to refuel the planes in the air. And the basic philosophy is to have a aircraft in the fleet which is multi-purpose, so they could actually get two planes for the price of one.
Yeah. So look, as I mentioned it, for those who were waiting. To enter this, aeroplane. Does it say what it was? Like, oh, it's it's another Airbus. Okay, A330.
It's basically it's an air-to-air refueler, as you can see by the picture, and also a long-range troop carrier.
Well, it would. That's because they've got all these rows of seats. But look, as I'm saying, they didn't do that at the air show. They didn't show any refueling. You know, this one just flew.
No, but it's pretty dangerous doing the refueling.
Yeah, I know, but the thing was, look, okay, as I said, a workhorse Clydesdale, I appreciate it, okay? I just didn't see the novelty in waiting an hour to get up those stairs.
It's probably about one of the only planes you can go onto where there wasn't a lot of sensitive information.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Unlike our next one.
Ooh, yes, I like this one. So I really, really liked this when it was at the air show on Saturday, just because... What's that bumpy, humpy thing? It looks like a camel, but they call it a Wedgetail. So are we going to talk about the Americans that we met?
Yeah, hang on. Now, the Wedgetail itself is a surveillance plane.
But I think it's a Boeing. It must be
I'll tell you in a minute. I've lost it.
I think it's a Boeing originally. So, when I was taking videos of the air show, you couldn't miss it. So I thought this was interesting for me. Okay, like, hey, I did talk to the American personnel there and say, well, you know, it's not really built for speed, is it? I mean, it's
a reconnaissance plane.
Yeah, it's
an airborne early warning and control center.
So is it a Boeing? Yeah, it is a Boeing. Boeing what?
Boeing.
Does it say which Boeing? Oh, 737-700. Okay.
Now,
all right.
The interesting thing is the American equivalent is an AWACS.
I don't know what an AWACS is.
Basically, you see where the big surfboard is? They have a big round dish.
Why do you call it a surfboard? I call it a hump.
Well, it looks like a surfboard. But apparently that's the radar.
You know, I actually thought he went up and down.
No. It's basically, by the looks of it, it's probably a long-range, what do you call it? I think long-range radar.
Okay, so are we going to talk about the Americans? So the Americans were manning this stand. So I was actually quite surprised because what are a pair of American Navy people hanging around our plane? But apparently the Americans are here. Okay, we are allies after all, and they're actually looking at buying the Wedgetail, or thinking about buying the Wedgetail.
Having a look, see how it travels.
Yeah. Although I hope I'm not revealing any secrets that way. The purchasing, I mean, you know.
So if the CIA come around later, sorry, we didn't know.
Oh, well, look, he told us why he was there, which was basically to look at our Wedgetail, which I thought was pretty good because they must not like their own version then.
No, look, some things prove to be a little bit better than others. Now, one other shout out we must do.
And before you finish, I couldn't go inside, and I really wanted to go inside.
Yeah, they won't let you inside.
So we couldn't go inside.
Very sensitive equipment in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, hey, top secret. Do not go in there.
Yeah, I know.
The other shout out is for the C-13J Hercules,
which wasn't there.
Which weren't there neither, and they were from Richmond.
Oh, no, we'll talk about that in my other video.
But I'm just saying that's where they're based.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk about that because I've got something to say about those Richmond people. All right, final.
One more. Everybody loves
the Bushmaster. Okay, yeah. So I have seen the Bushmaster several times already, but I'd never gone inside. So I did post a video.
And it is smaller than on the inside than you actually think.
Oh my gosh, it's so cramped.
If you're 4 foot, it's perfect.
Yeah, if you're a little kid under 5, you can run up and down the aisle.
Literally, the Rugrats were going crackers.
Yeah.
But somebody such as myself, who's a little bit taller, talking about some massive headbanging.
No, so it is a troop carrier. So the one that we saw was actually the Air Force's one. So I think each arm of our military has got a Bushmaster, and they've sent it overseas to Ukraine.
The guy who was doing it actually said there's variants. There's a hospital version, which has no seats. From memory, the one we were in had 4 seats each side. So it took 8 personnel, driver, co-driver, and there was a separate seat for the radio operator.
I didn't see that one.
I did.
Okay.
And then, as you can see in this picture, they're all fitted with, looks like they can be fitted with, I'm not sure if they're actually 50 cal. But there's multiple gun positioning as well.
Well, you call it the turrets, don't you? I called that the driver's turret. So in the video I posted, I went up that turret and did a 360. So there we go.
So you've got a rear gunner and a front gunner.
Yeah, so I was so glad I finally saw a Bushmaster because, look, it is something that we should be proud of as because our manufacturing industry has been decimated, but hey, we build the Bushmaster, and when President Zelensky said, Australia, help us in the Ukraine war by sending us Bushmasters, I think that really gave us good publicity to Bushmasters. And as you can see, look, we usually don't, tall poppy syndrome and that we don't usually say how proud we are of this, but I think on the international stage, I think we should be quite, pleased with the popularity of the Bushmaster.
It's actually not a bad vehicle.
Yeah. All right. So I think that ends this section. So these were the posters, collectible. They're now collectibles. And if you go to the next air show, hopefully there'll be one next year. Be prepared to bring a poster.
To bring a ton of posters.
Yes, because we didn't anticipate that. All right, we'll go for the next one.